The Machine Gunners by Robert Westall, winner of the Carnegie Medal. To Christopher Westall, his book. 1. When Chris awakened, the air raid shelter was silent. Grey winter light was creeping round the door curtain. It could have been any time. His mother was gone, and the little brown attaché case with the insurance policies and bottles of brandy for emergencies. You hear the milk carton coming around the square. The all clear must have gone. He climbed out of the shelter, scratching his head and looking round carefully. Everything was just the same. Same whistling milkman, same cart horse, but there was too much milk on the cart, and that was bad. Every extra bottle meant some family bombed out during the night. He trailed round to the kitchen door, his mother and the paraffin heater on, and bread frying. It smelt safe. There were 2 more panes of glass out of the window, and his father had blocked the gaps with cardboard from a Nestlé's milk box. The lettering on the cardboard was the right way up. Father was fussy about things like that. Father was sitting by the heater with his pint milk mug of tea. He looked wary, but still neat in his warden's uniform, with his beret tucked under his shoulder strap. "You remember that lass in the greengrocer's?" "The ginger-haired one?" said his mother, still bending over the stove. "Aye, a direct hit. They found half her in the front garden and the other half right across the house. She didn't believe in going down the shelter. She was always frightened of being buried alive. From the way his mother punched her shoulders, Chaz could tell she was trying not to cry. Chaz's father turned to him. "Your rabbits are all right. Chimney has got some glass in her straw, but I shifted it. But there's 6 panes out of the greenhouse. If it goes on this way, there'll be no chrysanthemums for Christmas." "It won't be the same without chrysanthemums," said his mother. Her lips were tight together, but shaking slightly. "Here's your breakfast." Chaz stirred up 2 whole slices of fried bread and a roll of pale pink sausage meat. It tasted queer, and not at all like a sausage before the war. But he was starting to like the queerness. He ate silently, listening to his parents. If he shut up, they soon forgot he was there. You heard much more interesting things if you didn't butt in. "I thought we were a goner last night. I really did. That dive bomber. I thought it was going to land on top of the shelter. Mrs. Spaulding had one of her turns." "It wasn't a dive bomber," announced Father with his authority. "It had 2 bombers. Engines. He came down on the rooftops because one of the RAF lads were asking after him. Right on his tail. You could see his guns firing, and he got him. Crashed on the old laundry at Churton. Full bomb load. I felt the heat on me face a mile away." Mother's face froze. "Nobody killed, love. That laundry's been empty for years, just as well. There's not much left of it." Charles finished his last carefully cut dice of fried bread and looked hopefully at his father. "Can I go and see it?" "Aye, you can go and look. But you won't find nowt but bricks. Everything is just went." Mother looked doubtful. "Do you think he should?" "Let him go, lass. There's nowt left." "No unexploded bombs?" "No, a quiet night really. Lots of our fighters up. That's why you didn't hear any guns." "Can I borrow your old shopping basket?" said Charles. "I suppose so, but don't lose it. And don't bring any of your old rubbish back in the house. Take it straight down to the greenhouse." "What time's school?" said his father. 10:30. The raid went on after night. War had its compensations. Chaz had the second best collection of war souvenirs in Garmouth. It was all a matter of knowing whether to look. Silly kids on the pavements or in the gutters. As if anything there wasn't picked up straight away. The best place to look where no one else would dream, like in the dry soil under privet hedges. You often found machine gun bullets there, turned you into little metal mushrooms as they hit the ground. Fools thought nothing could fall through a hedge. As he walked, Chaz's eyes were everywhere. At the corner of Marston Road, the pavement was burnt into a white patch a yard across. Incendiary bomb. The Talafin would be somewhere near. They normally bounced off hard when the bomb hit. He retrieved the fin from front garden and wiped it on his coat. A good one. Not bent, the dark green paint not even chipped, but he had 10 of those already. Bodzer Brown had 15. Bodzer had the best collection of souvenirs in Garmouth. Everyone said so. There'd been some doubt until Bodzer found the nose cone of a 3.7-inch anti-aircraft shell, and that settled it. Father Brown Chaz sighed and put the fin in his basket. 100 tail fins couldn't equal a nose cone. He knew that old laundry would be no good even before he got there. He began finding bits of the plane, but they were only lumps of aluminium, black on the sides and shiny at the edges, crumpled like soggy paper. They were useless as souvenirs. Other kids just laughed and said you'd cut up your mother's tin kettle, unless it was a piece that had a number on it, or a German word. Or even Chaz sighed at the tightness in his chest, a real swastika. But these were just black and silver. The scene of the crash was a complete catastrophe. It was the partial catastrophes that Chaz found interesting. Picture frames still hanging on exposed walls 5 stories up. Chimneys balanced on the verge of toppling, whereas the old laundry had been flattened as completely as if the council demolition gang had done it. Just piles of brick in the bomber's 2 engines. One engine was in the front garden of a council house that had its windows out and its ceilings down. The family was scurrying around like ants from a broken nest, making heaps of belongings they had salvaged, and then breaking up the heaps to make new heaps. Chaz watched them as if they were ants, without sympathy, because they were a slummy kind of family, a great fat woman in carpet slippers and a horde of boys in assorted sizes, hair like lavatory brushes, coarse marine jerseys that wouldn't fasten on the neck, and boots with steel heel plates. Chaz went on staring over the garden wall. The woman paused in her doorway, a sloping, handless chamber pot in her hand. "Bugger off, staring ghoul. Haven't you anything better to do?" "Can I see the engine?" Chaz said hopefully. "No, it's ours." "No, it isn't. It belongs to the Air Ministry by law," Chaz sounded confident, but his heart wasn't in it. "No, it don't. It's ours 'cause it's knocked our house down. Bugger off or I'll set out Cuthbert on you." Cuthbert, the largest lavatory brush, picked up a stone, a sudden look of interest dawning on his face. The other lavatory brushes closed round him in an offensive phalanx. Chaz drew himself up for parting shot. "West shirt and rubbish," he said in a tone he had often heard his mother's use. "Balwick snob. Go where you came from. Go back where you came from. So our engine. The newspaper's coming to take photos of us today." She drew herself up, adjusting a lump of front door that stood propped against the wall, and it was chalked the legend, "Business as usual." The first stone flew from the first lavatory brush. The phalanx began to move forward. Chaz took to his heels. The other engines were guarded by the local policeman, Fatty Hardy. He was wearing a white tin hat with P on it, and it looked important, but he was still the Fatty Hardy who had chased Chaz off many a building site before the war. Stupid. This engine was much better than the one in the front garden. It still had its propeller, though the blades were bent into horseshoes. The middle was unharmed, a lovely shiny egg shape, painted red. Chaz nearly choked with greed. If I only had that. That was better than any 3.7-inch nose cone. The whole propeller was loose. It waggled when the wind blew. Chaz's mouth actually filled with saliva as if he could smell a pie cooking. How could you get rid of Fatty Hardy? An unexploded bomb? Swiftly he brushed his eyes with his fists, throwing handfuls of dust into them until they began to stream with tears. Then he ran towards Fatty Hardy, bawling incoherently, and he reached the policeman. He put his hand up. School died hard. "Please, sir. Mum says come quick. There's a deep hole in our garden, and there's a ticking coming from it." Fatty looked distinctly worried. Airplane engines was airplane edges, and needed protecting from thieving kids. But unexploded bombs was unexploded bombs. "Hurry, sir. There's little kids all around it, looking down the hole." Fatty grabbed his shoulders and shook him roughly. Where? Take me. "Please, sir, no, sir. Mum's said I mustn't go back there, in case it goes off. I got to with my gun, sir. But the bomb's at 19, Marston Road." Fatty went off a wobbling run, his gas mask case flogging his broad bottom. Before he was out of sight, Chaz was at the engine. Its realness was overwhelming. There were German words on the cowling. OL was the only one he could recognize. Everything was bigger close to. The twisted prop blades curled into the air like palm leaves. The red spinner, which he had thought as carryable as a rugby ball, now seemed as big as a brewery barrel. He tugged at it. It came off as far then struck. He heaved again at the shiny red newness. It still resisted. "Nazi pigs," he screamed, and his hand slipped and the blood came. He picked up a lump of brickwork, 4 bricks still cemented together, and raising it above his head, flung it at the spinner. The beautiful red thing crushed in, but it still wouldn't budge. He hit it again. Another great white flaking dent appeared. It was a mess now, hardly worth having, but still it refused to come off. There was a sudden roar of rage from behind. Friday Hardy had returned, sweaty face working. Chaz ran. He wasn't greatly worried. Hardy was puffing already. He wouldn't last 50 yards. The only worry was the piles of rubbish underfoot. If he fell, Harry would have him. Placing his feet carefully, he ran towards the wood. The wood was in the grounds of West Churton Hall. At one time, his father had said, the people at the hall had owned everything, but then the factories came and the council stayed, and the owners of the hall just curled up and died for shame. Now, with the house itself was just a hole in the ground lined with brick and black cinder floor. There was a big water tank full of rusty water, and nothing else. The wood was bleak and ugly too. Grown-ups dumped rubbish round the outside, and Clid climbed and broke the trees, but nobody went into the mill. Some said it was haunted, but Chaz had never found anything there was a feeling of cold misery, which wasn't exactly like a headless horseman. Still, it was an oddly discouraging sort of place. Each year, the briars grew thicker. Even Chaz knew only one would way through them. He took it now, wriggling under arches of briars as thick as your finger. Interlaced like barbed wire, he was safe. Fatty Hardy couldn't even try to follow. He picked himself up quickly because the grass was soaking. The sky seemed even greyer through the bare branches, and he felt fed up. Since he was here, and might as well search for souvenirs. Churton Hall was another place no one ever looked. He found his best bit of shrapnel there, a foot long, smooth and milled on the sides, but with jagged edges like bad teeth. He sniffed. There was still a foreign smell in the wood, like petrol and fireworks. Funny, it wasn't Guy Fawkes yet. Some kids must have been messing about. As he pressed on the smell grew stronger. There must have been an awful lot of petrol. Something was blocking out the light through the branches. A new building, a secret army base, a new anti-aircraft gun. He couldn't quite see, except that it was black. And then he saw, quite clearly at the top, a swastika, black outlined in white. He didn't know whether to run toward it or away, so he stayed stock still, listening. No sound except for buzzing or flies. The angry was then buzzed off, dug dirt when you waved your hand over it. It was late in the year for flies. He moved forward again. It was so tall, like a house, and now it was dividing into 4 arms, at right angles to each other. He burst into the clearing. It was the tail of an airplane, but German bomber that had crashed in the laundry. At least most of it had crashed in the laundry. The tail, breaking off in the air, had spun to earth like a sycamore seed. He read the happening of in books. He could also tell from books that this had been a Heinkel He 111. Suddenly he felt very proud. He'd report the find and be on the 9 o'clock news. He could hear the newsreader's voice. The mystery bomber shot down over Garmouth on the night of the 1st of November has been identified as a new and secret variation of the Heinkel He 111. It was found by a nearly unknown schoolboy, Charles McGill of Garmouth High School. Sorry, I'll read that again. Form 3A at Garmouth High School. There is no doubt that but for sharp eyes of his young man, several enemy secret weapons, vital to the blitzkrieg, would have remained undiscovered. Chaz sighed. If he reported it, they might come and take it away for scrap, like when he taken that shiny new incendiary bomb back to the warden's post. They not even said thank you. And he wouldn't get in the news. It was a perfectly normal Heinkel 111. Registration letters HXL, with typical dorsal turrets mounting 1 machine gun. Chaz gulped. The machine gun was still there, hanging from the turret, shiny and black.